Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. I'm Eric Casson, and don't forget to give us a follow and a like because tonight we got Aaron Boone after the fallout of the World Series in Game 5 of last year, the LA trash talk going on, and what we can expect in 2025. He touches on all of those things with his interview by the WFAN, the local radio station around town here in New York. And remember, if you like New York sports talk, this is the place, guys. Been to 350 Yankee games, haven't missed a game on the radio in about 20 years. That's not a joke. I'm what they call a little obsessed. So I'll sit here and I'll watch Aaron Boone with you because we haven't heard anything from Yankee land other than making moves like Max Fried and making the pivot from Juan Soto. I'm very excited about this year. I'm going to be going down to spring training myself, and we're going to be getting the beat reporter going. So let's get to the videotape.
Before you, have you gotten over the World Series yet?
No, I don't think you ever get over it. It's kind of one of the first things when you're talking with the team after the game, and it was, obviously pretty emotional. A lot of people got up and spoke. It's like it's going to hurt forever. I mean, the 2019, walk off, that really every end to the season. But when you're close in a lot of different ways, the ending sticks with you forever.
Boone was part of that 2019. He was the manager of the 2019 team against the Houston Astros. Whether they were banging garbage can, using sensors underneath their jerseys, whatever they did to get that home run off of Chapman in the seventh inning was gut-wrenching. But I know what was gut-wrenching last year was the fifth inning in Game 5 of the World Series when Judge dropped that ball. Let me know in the comments below, as a Yankee fan or a sports fan in general, which one's worse? Game 7 against Chapman or losing in 5 games to the Dodgers? Let me know what you think. Because I think it's the 2019 home run in Game 7. Because the Dodgers were dominating that series. I really don't think the Yankees could have got 2 wins in that series, but I think the Dodgers were a better team last year.
What do you say, Aaron? I mean, it really is amazing about just how great Judge is and what a terrific person he is. He's not going to drop a pop fly like that the rest of his life.
Yeah.
What do you say to him?
We just keep it moving. I mean, the one thing Judgy does so well, day in and day out, year in and year out, lives it, is he's just this perfect teammate and really perfect competitor. And when you play in the game and when you live in the game, you understand. We talk about the grind a lot, and you understand that, and you understand the ups and downs of it all. And I've never seen somebody handle the day-to-day 0 for 4 one day, 2 for 4, whatever, as well as he does, like that even keel.
Even better than Jeter? Because Jeter was pretty good with that stuff too, right?
Jeter was great at that. Judge, just because I know him so well now and I've lived it with him, to watch him every single day, he just gets the life and the grind of it all. And for a guy as great as he is, also how hard it is, too.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people make a big...
Aaron Judge just had another MVP season, and all you can hear about is his performance in the postseason and the World Series. The one thing you got to remember about Aaron Judge is tied with Giancarlo Stanton for 18 career postseason home runs. So while one guy can't do anything during the regular season and everyone loves him during the postseason, it's flip-flopped with Aaron Judge. Everyone loves him during the regular season and hates him during the postseason. Last year's numbers was an epic season, was a historic season. Judge finished in the top 18, I'll repeat that, 18 wins above replacement all time in baseball history last year. And that's why Juan Soto had the protection in the lineup. Juan Soto didn't even hit 300. Aaron Judge hits for average, hits for power. It's unbelievable. He has an OPS of 1159. I don't need to go on and on about how good Aaron Judge is, but when you lose sight about how good a player is because of one series or a month of baseball, you know what? This guy is the best baseball player ever to draw breath in my eyes I've ever seen play on the Yankees, okay? Talent-wise, A-Rod definitely gives him a run for his money, but Aaron Judge is unbelievable. unbelievable. And I know, and it feels weird for me to have to sit here and say that Aaron Judge is unbelievable, but he is.
Big deal at a Game 5. Obviously, that inning, it was horrific. But Game 1, you got ridiculed for the decision there. I personally didn't have an issue with it because I'm thinking if Cortez is on the roster and he wants to use him here in the spot, so be it. I know you had some regret.
This was a bad move by Boone. And it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, but with Nestor Cortez, you got to remember, Nestor Cortez didn't pitch to a human for about a month. Give me anybody in the bullpen other than him at that point, because bringing him in the 10th spot when Nestor Cortez says he strictly does not like to come out of the bullpen, does not want to be usable for the bullpen, but he would do anything that the Yankees asked. So you bring him in after a month of not seeing humans, and in the 10th inning you bring him in the World Series in the highest leverage situation in the world. So I would like to see what Boone has to say.
Though after the game, take us through your decision with Cortez against Freeman.
I don't know if it's regret. The decision for me was not Tim Hill versus Nestor, because the inning, while it ended.
Well, it should have been Tim Hill, because if you remember the left-handed guy, Tim Hill, who, they got off the scrap heap, had been pitching his buns off in the postseason, and he was ready to go. He was sharp against the Cleveland Indians. So I have to say something because it bothers me.
Ended with Freeman, who going into that series, before he went off on the series, felt very much like a shell of himself coming out of the NLCS. Like he could barely walk in that NLCS. He wasn't the same guy. I think the time off certainly served him well. So the calculus for me was 2-3 hitters. And I knew Cortez, we felt like was a better matchup going into that game against Ohtani. And if the one Hill at bat against Ohtani later in the series was one of the only.
Who's we? Is that him and his pitching coach, or is that him and Brian Cashman? Like, did he just slip there? Does he get live messages from Brian Cashman? Because if you remember, Aaron Boone during the postseason was coaching his ass off until he got to the World Series, and it seemed like he started doubting himself. And it seems like they went by the book a little bit more. So I don't know what Cashman's influence was in on that, but it definitely goes to the book. But in situations like that, that's why I like Joe Girardi, is because you got to go by the gut.
He hits Ohtani got. He smoked the ball to center field. So we had to get 2 outs.
Right.
We're probably not going to double up Ohtani, right, with his speed. So that, and I like the Nestor matchup against him and especially Betts. Now, once the ball takes Verdugo into the outfield and moves up the runner, then I'm going to take my shot with Freeman with Nestor. And if the ball is 4 inches higher, I mean, he kind of pulled it down and in, and it ended up in the seats. But so I don't have regret about that decision. The one thing was, do I keep Weaver in the game?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you would lose him for a game 2 scenario, but then you got the off day. So there's a case to be made there. And that's probably the one I wrestle with the most. He had come off, I think he was at like 19 or 20 pitches. We were tied. I wasn't going to send him out if we were tied, but I think the case to be made once we took the lead, saying, let's roll with him here. But then it's like, do I get to the finish line with him? Then I'm going to somebody else anyway. And he's down a couple days probably. So that was the biggest thing that I still to this day, like, man, I could have gone Weave.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm curious about? I know.
So he says, so Tim Hill's not even on his mind. He was going to think about going Luke Weaver, but he was afraid about losing Weaver for game 2. I don't know, man. I'm not going to sit here and second guess Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone has forgot more about baseball than I will ever know in my life, and I understand that. But this is a sports talk show, and he puts himself out there, but he's been very accepting of what he did. But that's a by the book. That's a Stratomatics move, man. Because if anybody with a brain knows that you don't put Oswaldo Cabrera at second base after Torres leaves the game, and you bring Tim Hill in, who's been pitching his ass off.
Let me ask you this. I know we're jumping around a lot here, but to me, outside of Mattingly, there is not another Yankee that is so revered and has that top-level stature. And we know why. The plight, didn't have the teammates, his back, all the Can Aaron Judge be an all-time Yankee, no asterisk, all-time, without a championship?
Well, hopefully we'll check that second box too. So that's how I look at it. We're
I
going
hear
in
you, but
with
if
that.
you don't, and trust me, I'm hoping.
But I mean, how was Boone supposed to? How was Boone supposed to answer that? You know, that's a weird question by BT because it's like, is he going to be? Yeah, he's going to be better than Babe Ruth. Yeah, he's better than a guy Lou Gehrig. Like you can't compare. Like, and then also Donnie Baseball without a chip. So it's like you're indirectly saying to Aaron Boone, he's never going to win a World Series, and Aaron Judge is never going to win a World Series. You might not want to say that to the head coach of the New York Yankees. I don't know if you want him back on the show.
I think is the best, from your perspective, from a competitive perspective, just the optics of the game. What do you think is the best decade of baseball?
Well, I think it's the one that when you fell in love with the game, and it always is that. And so for me, that's the 80s, late 70s, 80s, like
90s, early 2000s. That's the baseball fan I am. Yeah, 90s. And it kind of stinks that all the guys that I grew up watching are just everybody was on juice. And that nobody's allowed in the Hall of Fame, like Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, the list goes on and on. Roger Clemens from the press books. Yeah, it kind of sucks that all the guys that I've watched aren't allowed in the Hall of Fame. Alex Rodriguez, all these guys, stud players, great players. And also, if you check out the numbers of let's just say Bernie Williams. You look at Bernie Williams' career stats, how much he would dictate on the open market now as a free agent. He'd be making upwards of $200 million. Got to be right. You got to be born at the right time, man. He made 88. He had a contract. I think it was 7 years, $88 million, if I'm not wrong.
that was the height of my fandom. And when you're cemented, and I think it's very true, is you always romanticize and go back to that's your default is when you were the biggest fan. And well, why don't we do this now? Or, those kind of things. So I would say, the 80s is my wheelhouse.
What'd you make of the Dodgers talking a lot of smack post World Series? I know you're a competitive guy. Dodgers had a lot to say about your ball club.
I wouldn't let up. I was kind of hoping you said something, quite frankly.
Didn't like it. They won, so, that they had that right. So, a couple of people like saying some things. It's like, see what you did this year? Like it wasn't the Freddie Freemans and Shohei's and Mookie's popping off. It was some others. So look, they won the World Series. We didn't play our best, and they're flying high right now. So we'll try and get back to that stage and hopefully punch through.
But
well, that was definitely a classy response by Aaron Boone, man. He knows. That's why he's also the Yankees head coach, is because he can dance around any questions. The guy was in the media himself. But yeah, he doesn't like it. That's going to be sprawled all over the spring training locker room, knowing that these guys disrespected him and walked on him like that, because the Yankees always showed class when they won. And they never dug at other teams, and they never talked shit. And the two guys that were talking crap, like Boone just said, hardly even played in the World Series. One even didn't even play in the World Series. So those are the guys that are chirping. It's not the Ohtanis. It's not the Freemans, because those guys, Mookie Betts, is not chirping because they're model citizens in baseball. And Ohtani's a gambler and just sent his trainer to jail. So maybe Mookie Betts and Freeman are good people, so they don't dance on somebody's grave. But just like Boone said, man, like you are, stop them. Like Terrell Owens. People used to get pissed when he'd take a Sharpie out of his sock and be like, he's ruining football. Well, stop him from getting in the end zone. If you don't like the Dodgers talking all that smack, beat him in the World Series. And with them reloading in just the way that they did, listen, the National League has to worry about the Dodgers, not us. The Yankees, the New York Yankees, have to worry about the American League, the Astros, Cleveland, throw them in there, but we own the Central. They got to worry about the Astros and the Rangers. The National League has to worry about the Dodgers. But you know what? The Yankees proved that spending all that money and making a all-star team like Gary Sheffield, Alex Rodriguez, Mark Teixeira, that team, they didn't win any rings until 2009. So it doesn't win you championships. And to be honest, the Padres are a very good team in their division, so it's always going to be a little tough to get past that division rival in the playoffs like the Dodgers need to do. And then you're going to get an 88-win team like the Diamondbacks because it's a crapshoot. That's what the playoffs in baseball has become. It's become an absolute crapshoot. that's baseball, Susan, as John would like to say, and I'm going to miss John this season too. John's going to be gone. I'm sad about that. I still got Susan. Still got, oh my God, Roger Clemens from the press box, John. Yeah, but screw the Dodgers. They beat us, and they get to talk all the smack they want until we stick it to them. And the Yankees are going to be in L.A. this year, and I'm thinking about going.
Were disrespectful, and you're a competitive guy. Like, that bothered me. I'm not even a Yankee fan. I know it had to really
I'll just say, yeah, it did.
Let me know in the comments below, as a Yankee fan, did that bother you? Should Boone be a little bit more spicy, letting us know where he feels and putting his 10 toes down, as the kids like to say nowadays? Or did Boone handle this the exact way that he's supposed to handle this? Or is he supposed to go to Lou Piniella and tear off his shirt and go crazy on everybody?
I know there's more in there, Booney. Come on.
I don't know how you didn't fire back. And I know it's pretty much, it's a waste of time. It only presents more problems for you and things you've got to deal with and that are really unimportant to the bottom line here, that don't impact your bottom line. But yeah, it's one thing to talk smack. Like, it was deeply personal in the baseball sense, because I don't even have the quotes in front of me, but we all know what they were.
Multiple guys.
Like, basically saying you guys a little sloppy. Sorry, Joe Kelly, some of these guys who haven't done a damn thing in years. Like, a little sloppy, whether it's on the base. Like, to me.
Something down your leg.
Yes. Yeah, but that's, to me, if I'm the.
Boone knows what they said. Do you notice that? He just finished his sentence. They didn't want to bring it up. Boone finished his sentence and knows exactly what they said. So he's playing the good guy right now, but he is cursing them behind closed doors, and these guys are going to use this as motivation. And especially with Juan Soto, seeing him across town in Queens the whole time, it's going to be a little extra motivation for these dudes this year.
Manager, that's an indictment, even if it's unfair. I'm taking that so personally, and I know it would be counterproductive to fire back, but you had to want to. Did you almost fire back?
I'm almost firing back right now.
Well, don't stop, man. Let's go.
Screw them. I'm not. They won, and hopefully we win and handle ourselves in a better way.
All right, well, let me ask you this then about the Dodgers, what they're doing from a business perspective. Okay, it seems like the Japanese pipeline has kind of shifted from the Yankees. Now it's there. They made a very astute move, getting Betts, very astute move, signing Freeman. Like, they get guys. Even Freeman maybe was kind of at the tail end, but when they bring guys in, they're all in their absolute prime. And a lot of baseball fans, people that call the station, call me and Sal on social media, basically think the business of baseball is broken. I agree and I don't. What is your perspective on all this business stuff?
Before Boone gets to it, let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below. Is baseball ruined because of what the Dodgers are doing? And I've said this before. You cannot blame the Dodgers for what they're doing. They're just working in the parameters of the baseball. And as a Yankee fan, watching them make mega teams and getting every Japanese player overseas before everybody else was getting them, I would be a hypocrite. The Dodgers are outsmarting everybody, and that's what you need to do in baseball. You either need to get guys on their first 4-year contracts, pay them nothing, or you get guys in their prime and you backload contracts. But now they're not even backloading contracts. They're deferring money. Two different things.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little overstated that it's broken, especially when you have like a team like this that we're all going, wow, they signed another. Whoa, they got it, and they've gone to a place payroll wise that it's like hard to wrap your brain around, and I worry a little bit about that from a collective bargaining agreement the next time, like because it's not when you're ironing out an agreement, it's not always just Major League Baseball and owners against players, but it's owners against themselves, because you got to get 23.
You know what that means? I smell strike. If he starts talking like that, when I hear verbiage like that from a guy that's lived through a lot of strikes in hockey, basketball, lockouts, everything in my lifetime, I've seen too many. I don't like when guys start talking like this. Makes me very nervous.
I feel like 23 out of 30 owners have to agree to ratify. So you start ticking up, and there's always people in the middle that they got to pull over at the end. So I get a little worried about that come, collective bargaining.
Meaning a work stoppage.
Correct.
I'm worried about that, too. I said that to Sal a couple of weeks ago that it came up. I'm very worried about that. It stinks.
Need the games here. Come on. I can't.
And we just got finished dealing with one 2 years ago. When they started the season late. But the Dodgers, then you have owners like the Pittsburgh Pirate guy who makes $100 million a year, does nothing for his team, gets luxury tax on top of it, and he makes a profit so he doesn't care what's on the field. So then you got guys like that who eat up the luxury tax from the Yankees, and Hal Steinbrenner's tired of paying that. He specifically named the Pittsburgh Pirates head coach when he said, I don't want to pay the luxury tax and play whatever his name is. I don't want to buy his summer home.
And deal with the work stoppage.
You finally get Soto and there's a stoppage.
Yeah, no, I don't want any part of that. You think you guys could beat the Dodgers this year?
I think we can beat anyone. We'll see. We got to get there, and they got to get there, and that's a lot harder than just having a great team in January. So it's a long way away. I don't even and we talk about this as a team, and I'll tell our guys, like, we ain't winning anything right now. It's about stacking days and trying to get better each and every day, and putting yourself and if we do that, we'll put ourselves in a position to go play in October and try and get back there.
Boone, you can manage another, God willing, 15, 20 years and
oh God, no.
and never have somebody like Soto, like that unique skill set to pencil in the 2 or the 3 hole the rest of your career. He's that unique. I was a little surprised. I wouldn't say turned off. I was a little surprised that Judge and others, and I get it. It's not like you're high school kids. You're grown men with families. I get it. Let them handle business layout. I do understand it. But did you reach out to Soto? Because I know Judge did not. He let him breathe a little bit. When this thing was going forward, how often did you communicate, if at all, with Soto about how much you obviously want him to come?
Not a lot after we met with them.
Okay.
So when we went to California to meet with them, that was my big time to, really make sure he understood how I felt, how we felt, my expectations and vision of him being there moving forward. So, it was, what a process and getting to where it got to.
Take us inside the room. I'd love to hear about it.
It was, honestly, it was great. I thought we put our best foot forward. We went out there with Hal and Randy and Cash and myself and Omar Minaya, and basically just kind of broke bread in a room and kind of tried to lay out our vision and him being there potentially then long term, like what that looks like, what the expectations are around that, about being just more entrenched in the room. So just kind of laying that out. I will say he was awesome. He really was. He and I had, I think, a great relationship, and, the respect I have for him, what he's about, what he brings to the table each and every day. Like, he loves the game, and he's a killer at his craft, obviously. He's very coachable. Like, man, I could get on him about something in the game, and he was not a diva by any means. It was like, he took pride in some of the things that aren't his strength, believe it or not.
Base running, stuff like that.
He cared about that stuff. Those are just more challenging things for him.
You get on, guys?
Huh?
You get on, guys?
No.
Hey.
So you may not do. I know there's a sleeping giant in there that we don't get to see, and then we sit here and say, "Oh, how could Boone not hold this guy accountable, that guy accountable?" And then we got some insight to your brother, and we pay attention to your personality, the Fire personality. There's no way you're not holding these guys accountable, or trying to, at least, behind the scenes. Can you give us a little bit of insight? I don't want to name specific players, but we know what we're talking about here. When guys don't play the game the right way, what's it like with Aaron Boone behind the scenes?
So they're specifically about to talk about Gleyber Torres and how he had to bench Gleyber Torres in the middle of the season, and how he's always been kind of a bonehead. He got signed by the Tigers this year. I wanted to see him back. He signed with the Tigers for $14 million. I think he could have kept him at second base, kept Chaz at third, or move him to center. Let Bellinger play first. You could have mixed around the guys. Gleyber Torres, I liked a lot. He never lived up to what he was supposed to be, and Boone had to sit him down for a couple of games and let him know what was up. I don't know if it's Gleyber Torres, and I mean this kindly. I don't know if he's dumb. Like, from all, like, when people, like, say things without saying it, whenever they bring up, he's a little aloof and, he's got his head in the clouds. Boone even said one time he thinks he's invisible on the base pads. I mean, that's not a good trait, but he's our bonehead. He's our Gleyber Torres, and I love Gleyber Torres. And I hope he does well with the Tigers. I got no qualms about him. But one of the things, though, that is Aaron Boone doesn't get on players, and I would be in that party. I don't see him get on guys enough, but maybe he does it behind closed doors, which you're supposed to do in a professional setting, because these guys are all pros. He was a pro, so he's not going to dog anyone out. He's not going to make anybody look like a fool because he's been in those shoes before. But that's why Aaron Boone loves playing DJ LeMahieu, who has 2 left feet, is because he reminds him of himself.
Everyone's different. I say this all the time. I treat all 26 guys differently. Well, actually, it's more than 26, right? When you consider all the people that come through. So I have a different relationship with all of them. I treat them all a little bit differently based on what I think they need, what I expect. Sometimes you get it right. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes there's bigger confrontations behind scenes. Sometimes it's, you're building guys up a lot. It's on me and my judgment to decide what I think a guy needs to get.
So that's a yes from Boone. Boone's indirectly saying that he gets on guys.
Get the best out of them. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do.
And also, you got to remember, man, like he couldn't really do that in his first couple of years. And, I think he was feeling it out because with the team that he was handed, man, it was like giving a kid with just a learner's permit a Porsche. And he's turned into a great coach. And he's the only Major League Baseball coach to have 500 wins in his first 5 seasons. So
do is get the best out of these guys. So that requires a different tone with each of them, I think. And I think authenticity matters. So I think it can look a lot of different ways. I try to establish enough of a relationship with all of them to hopefully they know that I really care about them. And then it allows you to have, whether it's a tough conversation with one or whether it's building somebody up, hopefully they know it's coming, that I care about them and their career.
Yeah, and you said you don't want to mention names, and I respect that, but we've talked so much about Gleyber, and we wish him well. He was a good Yankee.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Here comes BT, as subtle as a hand grenade. Like, all these guys knew who they were talking about. The crowd knew who they were talking about. BT's like, yeah, so Gleyber Torres, he's as subtle as a heart attack sometimes at Bone.
He seems like the kind of player that you had to build up. Now, that's a long-distance read where I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe a little sensitive, maybe wanted it too much in certain spaces, maybe didn't want it enough in others. Like, he would have really been confounding to me if I'm you, because his talent's undeniable, but the fluctuations in focus would have absolutely driven me nuts.
Yeah. So, first of all, I love the person. He really does. He cares a lot. And really over the last couple of years, too, has taken a lot of pride in going to the post every day. Sometimes, look, unless you've lived it and played in the game and played in the grind and played in the pressure of Major League Baseball, especially playing in New York, like a lot of guys handle that in a different way to try and, so sometimes, Paul O'Neill's going to look different than, Gleyber may look. Mm-hmm. And it's a little more gray than that. It's how they handle and try. You got to make plays and you got to produce. How do you do that? Do you do it sometimes you do it by slowing things down a little bit, and that's not always the best look to a fan. Gleyber really cared, like you said, was a really good Yankee. What he did at the back end of the season last year and into the playoffs.
Yeah, and he doesn't get enough credit. Gleyber Torres did everything for this team, and he led off in the postseason, and every time I turned around, he was leading off the game with a single. So he was hitting .333 in the postseason. Gleyber Torres did a great job. That's why I think he might have saved his season. I was even joking with my friend. I was like, oh, my God, did this guy play good enough to get him back on the Yankees? And watch him do well with the Tigers. Tigers are a good team. I forgot about them. You got to worry about the Tigers.
Was enormous for us. I've had a lot of talks with Gleyber over the years. Mendy and I have had a lot of talks. I've had a lot of talks with Gleyber over the years. But, I feel like it won't surprise me at all if he goes and has a massive year in Detroit, because he's capable of that. He cares.
So I think he was saying that New York was too much for him. that he'd do in a great place like Detroit, where the pressure isn't so much. And in Detroit, they love their baseball in Detroit. Don't get me wrong. They're good fans, but it's not like nothing's like playing in New York.
And, sometimes it just comes out a little bit different.
All right, we got to get game one,
All right,
round
let's
one
go.
here. You
What
two
are we
are up
doing
first
here?
because I'm the champ.
So
But
I'm
before
going
we
against
do that,
Bodie?
All right, so there you go. That was the Aaron Boone section of the interview. He's not going to say anything crazy. He's not going to say anything out of line. We got 13 days till pitchers and catchers. I don't know about you guys, but I am completely amped up about this season. And let me know in the comments what you think the Yankees are going to do this year. What's your prediction for the season right now? I know it's crazy. I call it the way too early to predict predictions. That's a lot of ways. And you can make your way over to Instagram at New York Minute. That's NEWYRKMIN on Instagram. Also, Spotify, YouTube. That's the New York Minute podcast, guys. We break down New York sports, but we talk about all sports, all NFL, all NBA, and we got everything for you right here, and we got you covered, guys. So thanks a lot for visiting the channel. Talk to you soon. And if you can't be good, baby, be bad. Bye.